Part of my job at the adoption agency was to speak with expectant mothers who called if they were considering adoption. In March, I spoke with a woman named Kimberly. Then I didn't hear from her again.
Well, when I first discovered I was pregnant, I honestly was really excited at first because I actually had always wanted a child. But then after I told Sky's dad and he said it wasn't his, then I was really devastated and upset.
Having 2 kids was great. Why not have a third? In the spring of 1997, we decided to pursue a third adoption. We put together another Dear Birth Mother letter and sent it to our family members and friends and other connections. We assumed this search would take longer because in the marketplace of adoption, we were competing with prospective adoptive parents who maybe had no children.
On my work front, I had reached an impasse with the national director of the adoption agency and decided to resign in May. Then, unexpectedly, in June, I received a call from Phoebe at the agency telling me that Kimberly had called again, but that none of the agency clients met her criteria.
I knew that I couldn't do the adoption unless I was going to be able to know her and stuff, and I also knew that I didn't want it to be something where she was miles and miles away. I wanted her to be nearby and with a good family nearby and stuff.
Phoebe said Kimberly would need living expenses. Were we interested in talking to her about adoption? Yes, we were. I called Kimberly. She was 23 years old and working as a waitress at a restaurant. She was currently in temporary housing, didn't have a car, and her family in North Georgia, about 80 miles away, didn't know that she was pregnant.
I felt like they would force me to keep the baby, and I didn't feel like I was in a place to do that. And I knew that they wouldn't understand why I was giving her up for adoption. And because I feel like with my family, it doesn't matter what kind of situation your life's in. They think that you're just supposed to raise a child no matter what, even if you're on the street poor and stuff. Wouldn't have considered abortion, even though I'm not against abortion. It's everybody's choice. But I considered parenting, and I just knew I wouldn't. I had nowhere to go and had nobody to turn to, so I knew I wouldn't be able to do it.
I also learned that Kimberly had a young son from a previous relationship who was no longer living with her, though she didn't share the story of how this came to be.
Yeah, it was great at first. We were supposed to get married, and we lived there with my son, and then he started moving. He was a musician. He started moving his band members in, and they started drinking, and I started saying stuff about it, and wanted all the band members to move out. His dad was drinking one night and flipped out and tore the house apart, and I went running out the front door and went down the street to a payphone and called his parents and told them I needed help, that I had nowhere to go, and would they come get our son till I figured out something. And they came and got my son, and I never saw him again.
Kim had recently been working as a dancer, but had to leave that job when she started to show. She was all alone.
After the call, I met with Kimberly the next day, taking Emily and KJ with me. She liked kids. She felt like she had raised her younger siblings, and we made a connection. John, back from a business trip, met her the next day and also felt good about pursuing an adoption plan.
I remember they came into the restaurant I was working at, and they were really, really kind and just really laid back and super intelligent. That was important to me, because I didn't want my child to grow up in I hate to say this, a redneck family with people that weren't smart. I wanted her to go to college and be with intelligent, good people. I remember, Rebecca's story about being raped, and at the time nobody knew this, but I had also been raped in high school, and I was very drawn to that, and I was like, well, I know they'll protect her, and because that was very big. And I think I was really impressed by Rebecca's parents, and in music, because that was really important to me too. And like, it was just a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, this is the family. I don't think I had to look.
We partnered with a different adoption agency to escrow money for housing at a Sierra Suites and to pay other expenses that Kimberly needed.
I helped Kimberly move. I went to doctor's appointments with her, and I invited her to spend the July 4th holiday with us, meeting some members of my family in the process.
We hired a counselor to work with Kim, a private investigator to find the birth father, and an attorney to terminate the birth father's rights after the baby's birth. We also jointly created an open adoption agreement that included a birth plan and ongoing contact.
Like, during the adoption process, it seems like beforehand you get plenty of attention, you get plenty of counseling, you get plenty of help, you get plenty of guidance, but then like afterwards, you're just plopped out on the street and that's it.
While we were waiting, Emily celebrated her 3rd birthday, and KJ learned to walk. He was a happy boy.
Down.
Then KJ celebrated his 1st birthday, twice.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday, buddy.
Say it again.
Happy birthday, buddy.
You're 1 year old today. You're 1 year old today. Happy birthday, KJ's 1 year old today.
At home, we prepared the kids for another adoption.
What?
Whose tummy were you in before you were born?
It's your tummy.
Whose tummy?
It's your tummy.
That's right, in Rochelle's tummy. And whose tummy was KJ in?
And Tina's.
That's right. And who's got a baby in their tummy now that we're waiting for the baby to be born?
Kim's baby.
Kim's baby. Do we know what we're going to call her?
What?
Do you remember what we said we were going to call her?
What?
Sky?
Stop.
That's right.
On August 15th, Kim went into labor, and I rushed from work to pick her up and get her to the hospital.
Am I in it? Am my face like really, really frightened?
Your face like huge.
Oh, no. Hey, this is Kim, and I just had a contraction.
A really, really big one.
A really big one.
And almost gave birth in the
They're
car.
like 3 or 4 minutes apart, I think. Okay.
And it's 4:50, give or take.
I feel like
You're on camera. What's your request for right after delivery?
and a beer.
And I'm not sure we can get the beer in here. What do you think?
I don't know. I've heard then the stoppers do that.
Is it showing one on there?
What number is it supposed to go up to?
I don't know.
So it's going up, yep.
We had both planned to be in the delivery room with her, but it turned out she needed a C-section. However, Rebecca was able to be in the operating room with her.
Kim had her baby just a few minutes ago. I don't know the exact time when it was maybe 6:30-ish. She had a C-section because the baby was breech and she still had yeast infection. Dr. Wheatley was the doctor that delivered the baby, and I got to be in the operating room, or whatever they call it when they do the C-section. And it was very strange to watch. Kim couldn't see because the
Screen.
well, yeah, well, it was like a drape kind of thing that I could see over it. So they could pull this baby up head first, and she looks like she has all of her fingers and toes. Oh, her APGAR scores were 8 and 9, so that's good. And she has hair. She has a lot of sort of dark hair, and she was 7 pounds 11 ounces. She's 20 inches long, and it's now I have 6:54. We just called the nursery
PM.
On August 15th, and they said that they're doing shift change, so they didn't want us to come to the nursery right now. We need to wait till about 7:30. So I guess what we do now is we call the relatives and we tell them that she's here. And Kim is in the recovery room and is kind of sleeping.
She won't be able.
The hospital staff let us see, hold, and feed Sky.
The next day, we brought Emily and KJ to the hospital to meet their baby sister. Nana came that weekend as well.
Based on our experience with Rochelle and Tina, it concerned me that Kimberly wasn't interacting with her baby.
I don't think I was emotionally able to do it, like, because I was already so devastated. That was just such a highly emotional time for me that I think I blacked a bunch of it out, like just because I was so brokenhearted and devastated. I think like that my mind is trying to, like, block it out or something.
Kim was discharged from the hospital before her baby was. I knew she had signed legal papers, but I couldn't really gauge what she was feeling.
When you're leaving by yourself, pretty much, and like you're walking, you go through all that, and you go through the pregnancy, and you have to go back and not have anything, not have a child, and not have any. I don't know. It was hard.
A counselor from the agency was supposed to be in contact with Kim after she left the hospital.
I got nothing. I'm late. They didn't give me any counselors. I didn't have family to talk to. I didn't have counselors to talk to. I just had this void.
Then, about 9 days after Sky's birth, Kim wanted to come over for pictures, so I went and picked her up.
She looked beautiful and amazingly thin for having just had a baby. And it seemed like she was okay. Like we did with our older 2 children, we hosted a welcome party, and then we got on with our lives.
We didn't hear from Kimberly for a long while. In October 1997, we returned to Nebraska to visit Emily's and KJ's birth families and to introduce the new baby.
most memorable moments for me was when Gaylord Doremus, who is Emily's and KJ's great-grandfather, said of Sky, "If she's one of yours, she's one of ours." A statement of claiming and of the power and reach of our extended family through adoption.
Sky was a happy baby.
We continue to record our children's activities and growth.
You do it then. Go sing it. A, B, C, D. You do it.
In May of 1998, Rebecca took Emily and KJ back to Nebraska for Tina's graduation from high school. On the same visit, Emily met her birth father for the first time. On July 4th, we were back home for the parade, picnic, and music, just as we had been the year before with Kimberly.
And then Sky took her first steps.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, KJ's fascination with books continued to grow.
Wait just a minute. Okay, you can point out the show.
See some
That
animals.
looks like a good book.
Can I get one now? What? This. What's this?
Is that a jaguar?
No, the cheetah.
Cheetah. Okay.
Right.
This is a big.
Like many parents of our generation, we threw elaborate birthday parties. Sky celebrated her first birthday with family and friends. We adopted a new puppy, and Emily began pre-K.
It had taken some time to find Sky's birth father to sign the papers, but in October of 1998, her adoption was finalized.
Sky was reaching her milestones, and KJ was becoming an athlete.
Go.
Sky, can you put bubbles on KJ? What do you have, Sky? KJ. Do you have a duck? KJ has a duck. Sky, do you have a duck too? What does a duck say? That's right. That's right. KJ has the baby duck and Sky has the mama duck.
Sky. What does an elephant say?
That's right, Sky.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Whoa! You got it, man.
Oh, you got it right in the head. Where's your nose?
That's right. Where are your eyes? That's one. That's right. Where's your mouth? That's right. That's right. Where's your hair? That's it. Where's your ears? That's right. You're so smart.
We hadn't seen or heard from Kimberly, but in December 1998, I received a call from Kim's mother, Cindy. The silence between them had broken, and Cindy knew about Sky.
I don't think I told my family until after the adoption, and it didn't turn out too good. Like they were pretty upset about it, mad at me, upset about it. One of my sisters even bullied me with it for years and a long time.
We made a visit to Rockmart, Georgia, for Sky to meet her grandmother, 2 aunts, and an uncle. It was a little strange that Kim wasn't there.
I thought about how Sky would feel about being adopted a lot. I think there was a time after the adoption where I felt like I couldn't even face her because I felt like she hated me. She would hate me. It was a terrible, like, you never know, because you're just very scared that they're gonna be angry at you for giving them up for adoption, and because kids don't understand, like, you know, why you do things and stuff.
I got in touch with Kimberly and arranged to take Sky to meet her at a restaurant in Atlanta where she was working in January 1999. Kim was clearly pregnant again. Her boyfriend had left. Her son, Christian, was born in April, and I took pictures at the hospital.
Rebecca and I both read to the kids often. Education was important to us, and it was important to their birth mothers also.
No, it was George, said the man, how would you like to see a real elephant? Let's go to the zoo. There was a lot to see at the zoo.
In July, we were back in Nebraska for a visit.
I remember lots of visits in the park when we were kids, spending a lot of time playing, hotel pool swims. It just overall, it was always a good time. It was always fun. There was always lots of pictures and lots of laughing, and it was great.
For grammar. Here, you take your knife. Oh, you can do it. Here, take a hold of your knife.
Not a boy.
Now, push it real hard. See there, looky that.
I remember a lot of the visits with Emily. As we got older, I would start my countdowns. I would start my getting ready to scream at everybody to the world that my sister's coming to town. I remember going to the lake. I remember going to the park. We used to love going to Pawnee Park and playing, and we'd all get together. We used to love going to my Aunt Gail's, and we used to go out for family dinners and just as a unit together when they came down. It wasn't like it was separate. It was always together.
My first memory of anybody in my birth family, like sibling-wise, I've always remembered Brittany the most because I think Brittany and I have had more of a connection since I was really little. We were at somebody's cabin during the summer break. We were swimming in the lake or the pond. It's not even a lake in Nebraska, it's a pond. Anyways, just having fun, and then when it was time to leave, I would always get sad because then I wouldn't see Brittany. Not saying my other siblings I didn't love, but I just didn't have a connection with him off the bat.
While we were there, Tina announced that she and Kevin were getting married in October and expecting twins in March.